Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of CBS Free Skills Acquisition. My name is Juliet Agbonikena. I'm here to take you on lunch box making. In our lunch box class today, these are the materials we'll be needing for them, which are the foam, we need the nylon, we need the lining, we need our measurement tape, we need our belt, and it comes in different sizes and different colors. We need our scissors, we need our material, then we need our adjuster, then the zip head. We need our zip head, then the zip materials. In lunch box making, we cut out two different measurements. There is one for front and there's one for the back. Like the one for the front, we have 19 by 10. Now I want to start by measuring our front material, which is 19 length, then 10 breadth. Then after that, we'll use that same front material to cut out our foam, to cut out our lining, and to cut out our nylon. They have the same measurement. So what I will do now is I'm placing this material on top of the foam to cut it out. We'll place our material on top of our foam and make sure it is well relaxed, then we'll cut it out. You cut it out in a very neat way and remove all the every excesses that is not needed. Then next, we'll place our nylon on top of the two material, which is the foam and the leather. The essence of putting our nylon is to preserve the food. Without nylon in a lunch box, that food will not get hot. So we use nylon and the foam to preserve it for a very long time. Also place it on top of the foam, then we'll cut it out. And you also cut out every excesses you don't need. Then finally, we'll take our lining, we'll place it on top of both the leather, both the foam and the lining, and we'll cut it out as well. But in our lining, we leave small excess. After the sewing, we'll now cut off the excess. So I'm leaving small excess lining, just small. After the sewing, I'll cut off the excess. Unlike the foam and the nylon that I cut exact, the lining is not like that. We have to leave small excess material. Then I'll keep the lining aside. Then now to our sewing machine. I'll take our sewing machine to sew the four of them together as one. So I'm picking the leather, the foam, the lining. I'm arranging them in a neat way, and the lining. Then I'm sewing the four of them together. You use your hand and be arranging it. Or preferable, you have a pin. You pin it round if you have pin. Then I sew. I'm going to sew it round. Everything I'm sewing it round. Okay, I'm through sewing around the four materials together. So now we want to cut off the excesses. This is how it looks like when it is all sewn together. Then we'll take our belt. We measure length 10. If you want the belt to be longer, you can measure length, like length 13, which I've done now. Then I pick my adjuster. I will place it inside the belt. Then I will now place it on top of the leather. I have to measure 2.5 by the side before I will now place my belt on it. I will leave 2.5 by the side and I will leave 2.5 up. This is what I've done. See my 2.5 by the side. Then I'm also leaving 2.5 up like this. Then I will pin it. Essence of pinning it is to get a straight. A straight line. And I will place it on top of the machine to sew it. I've placed my belt on the leather and I'm sewing it. This time around it will be more slower because you have added a lot of things together. So it's advisable to use industrial machine. You have to sew it round. So you make sure the belt is attached to the leather very well. And this is how it looks like when you are throwing the one side. Then we'll take it to the table. So now we'll take our tape and we'll cut out another belt of length 14. Then you cut it out. In this long belt, this is where we're fixing our adjuster. Essence of this adjuster is for you to be able to adjust the bag, the lunch box, whether you want it to go short or you want it to go long. So I'm placing my adjuster inside the belt. This is what I've done. Then with this belt, I will attach it to the one that is already been sewn on top of the leather material. Then I'll fix it inside the long belt adjuster. You'll fix it inside. After that, I will sew. With this, I'll be able to adjust it if I want it to go shorter or if I want it to go long. So I have to sew both the short belt and the long belt together. So I want to close up the belt together. That is holding both the leather and the long belt together. And I cut off the thread. The long belt, I will use my hand to adjust it so that it will not twist. I have to adjust it and place it in the other side of the leather material with the same measurement of 2.5 by the side and 2.5 up. Just like this, my 2.5 by the side and my 2.5 up. Then I will sew from there. This is how it comes out when the belt is fixed on it. So after that, I cut off the excess belt. So we are going to the next stage of putting in our belt. So we take our lining and cut out 1 inch. After that, I place it at the tip of the rough work to cover every rough work we have done. Just like this. I'll place it in between both the front and the back. Then I will sew. I make sure the lining covers both the front and the back of the lining, so that both the foam and the rough work will not be showing. You place it on it firmly. I'm done with this side. I'll cut out another lining of the same 1 inch to sew round the lunchbox material. That way your work is coming out neat and fine. I'm through taping it round, so I want to cut off any excesses that is remaining. So now we are going to the front, we are going to the back leather of length 22. Then breadth 9. The length 22 and the breadth 9. The same thing we did earlier on for the front is the same thing we are going to do for the back as well, of cutting the foam, the nylon and the lining and attaching it together. Then we'll sew it round. So I'm placing my foam on top of it. Top of the leather, and I'm cutting it out. I'm setting it aside. Now I'm taking my nylon. I'm placing it. So I'm placing the nylon on it and I'm cutting it out. You stretch out the nylon very well. As I said earlier on, excess of the lining and the excess of the foam, the nylon and the lining is to preserve food. Without the nylon and the foam, the food will go cold very easily. So I'm setting this aside. Then finally, I'm taking my lining and I'm placing it. In our lining, you will leave small excess. After the sewing, we'll cut it off. Now we'll take this material and take it to the sewing machine and sew it round like the one we did earlier for the front material. After the front has been taped round with the same way the back has been taped round, and I cut my belt of length 11 by 2, which I stitch by the side to serve as the shorter handle. This is the longer handle and this is the shorter handle. Then the next stage is, so we want to put our zip. And how do we do our zip? We have to get the length we needed. This one I cut out is length 23. Cut out length 23. Then I will tear it apart. I'm fixing one in the front material and I'm fixing the other one in the back material. Watch me as I sew it. I'm already sewing the zip inside the front material. I'm through fixing the zip. I'm through fixing the zip for the front leather and keeping it aside. So now I'm fixing the zip for the back leather. So cut off every excess thread. So, cut off any excess thread. So now both the front and the back zip will be fixed. So the next step is our finishing. Now we get the middle of the back and the middle of the front. We hold it. That's where the meeting sewing part starts. How do we get our middle? You fold it to get the middle of the front of the back, and you also fold this to get the middle of the front. Then you place both material together as a starting point. Then we'll start our sewing. So we'll sew it round to the end. We'll now pick it and sew it to the other end. And our lunch box is ready. So now we are in the finishing phase of our lunch box. cut off every excess thread. Then finally we'll turn it. Already I've fixed the zip head and I'm turning it. You turn it, you put your hand and bring out the shape very well. Our lunch box is ready. So zip it up. So the position is for our lunch box is ready. So now we want to start our second design, and these are the materials we need. We need our plain leather material. We need our character picture. We need our zip material and the zip head on it. We need our belt. Then we need our measurement tape and our scissors. So the first thing we do is to cut out length 23, breadth 10. Cutting out length 23 now, leather. You can use your chalk or biro to mark out or any. So this is my length 23. I'm marking out. To stretch the material very well. You stretch it out very well. Okay. My length 23. This is my length 23. Then breadth 10. Breadth 10. You mark it from there. You mark it that way. Breadth 10. Breadth 10. Then you cut it out. So I'm keeping this aside for now. So you check your material. If it's not straight, you straighten it properly. So this is my length 23, breadth 10. Then this same material, I will fold it equally and cut it out again. Folding it into 2 equal parts, and I'm cutting it out. I've done that. So I will hold the middle. If you still see any excess, you trim it out. So you hold the middle of this and notch. So I'm folding it to get my middle, and I'm notching it. I'll set aside. I'm also folding the other material into 2 equal parts, and I'm as well notching it out. I'm keeping one of the leather aside. Then I'm taking my character picture. In this design, I'm showing you how to fix our character on a plain leather. So you pick your material and you place your picture on top of the leather, and you relax it very well. You have to arrange it neatly. Arrange it in a very neat way. Then we'll sew it round. We'll sew it round. So now I'm going to the machine. So now I'm placing my material and the character on top of it. Now I want to sew it round. If you are placing, you place it on equal side, 2 equal sides. So one side will not be bigger than the other side. Then we sew. We sew it round. We sew the character on top of the leather round. You use your hand to place on the leather and the character to smoothen it. Then you'll be turning it like that. You'll be using your hand to be adjusting it, because some characters are not really smooth. So I will bring it out and cut off every excess thread. So this is how it looks when it is sewn together. So now I'm going back to the table. After we are done with the character picture, we set it aside. So we'll bring out our material to cut our zip, length 24. You mark it by 5. Let me turn the material. Always mark at the back of the leather. So length 24 by 5. We start placing it on bread 5. This is my 5. This is my 5. This is my 5. And this is my 5. Then I cut it out. So this is my length 25 by 5. Then inside the same material, I will fold it equally into 2 equal parts. Then I still have to cut it out for my zip. So So you use your hand and place on it. Place on it into equal parts and you cut it out. So I'm placing my hand on it and I'm cutting it out. So now I'm taking my zip material to also cut out length 25, but I'm going to put 2 inches as allowance. So you can place it on top of the material and just use your tape to add 2 more inches. Then you cut out. At the end of the day, the excesses you cut off the excesses at the end of the day. So I'm setting this aside. So I'm going to cut another length 26 by the same 5. Then 26. By the same 5. I'll get my 5 like this. And I'm cutting it out. So I'm done with the material. I'm setting it aside. So now I want to take our belt of length 45. I'm cutting it out and I'm keeping this aside. So now we are going to the sewing machine. So I'm taking the material that we cut into 2 and also the zip material, which I'm going to sew in between them. So I'm tearing it apart. I'm keeping one side down. Then when I finish with the one side, I will keep it. Then I'll pick the other one. So how do I place my zip? I place my zip at the back of the material, just like this. I'm done with one part of the zip and the material, and I'm cutting off our excess thread. I'm cutting off the thread. Then I will set it aside. Then I'll pick the other end of the leather together with the zip material and I'll sew. The same way I did the other one, I'm going to place the zip material at the back of the leather and I'm sewing. So I'm done with the other side of the zip and the material, and I'm also cutting off our excess thread. Then we pick our zip head. This is our zip head. You bring the two material together, placing them together. Then we fix our zip head. First, you fix this end. Then you take the other end and fix into the zip head. Then you close. So I'm closing it. This is how it comes up. Then I'll pick the belt. I'll attach it at the end of the zip material. I'm bringing it out. Every excess is, after sewing the edge, a cut off. So now I want to sew the belt. I want to sew the belt to the other end of the material. I'm bringing it out. I'm also cutting off every excess material that are not useful. This is how it comes up, how it is after the belt is being attached to the material. Then next, I pick the down material of length 26, breadth 5. I'm attaching it to the zip material. And I'm sewing. This is how it looks when it is sewn together to one long belt. Then if there's any excesses, you trim off, which I'm doing. If there's any excesses, you trim it off. Then you pick either of the front or the back. Earlier on, it was notched, so I will pick the material of the front and I also notch it as well. I make sure it's folded into 2 equal parts and I notch it. It's like this. Then I turn the other side as well. I fold it to 2 equal parts. Then I notch it. It's notch. So the notch belt and the notch material, they will meet at the same place, just like this. the notch material and the notch belt, they will meet at the same place. So I'm doing my sewing from there. So I'm going to use this belt to sew around the main material. This long material, this long belt, it will go around the main material. When I get to the end of one side, I won't sew completely to the end. I will cut off the thread and start with the longer side of the belt. So I'm just leaving a small ending. I didn't finish completely there, but that's where the joining will come in. So now I'm using the other long end to sew around the other side. As you are sewing, you'll be using your hand to be smoothing the material. You'll be smoothing the material as you are sewing, and you'll be making sure that you did not sew the belt mistakenly. So as you're sewing, be mindful of the belt. I've gotten to the finishing of the material. Then I cut off. The ending of one end and the other ending of the other side will meet together. I will sew it together. Any excesses I'm trimming off at this point. Then I'm finishing up properly. This is how it comes up, or this is how it will look after sewing the long belt to the main material. So finally I'm taking the other body to attach to the notch side of the long belt. Then I sew. going to sew the main body with the other end of the belt together as well. As I'm sewing, you'll be smoothing the material and be mindful of the long belt so that you not mistakenly sew on top of it. So I'm being mindful of the belt because it's very long, and I'm as well using my hand to smoothen the material. So I'm smoothing the material with my hand. As I'm sewing it. I'm stopping at one end. To start with the other side. I'm stopping at one end. I want to start with the other side of the material. As I said, you smoothing and watch out for your hands so that you will not mistakenly use needle to injure your hand. Finally, I'm at the finishing end of the other side of the material. So I'm at the finishing end of the material, so I have to bring it out and cut off excesses. To get a very neat job, you start trimming every rough thread, rough material, every excesses. Then you will turn. Bring that in, open the zip and then you turn it. Our character lunch box is ready. Alternatively, you can as well add foam, nylon lining to it if you want it to go stronger. And if you also want it to preserve the food more, you can add your foam, your nylon, your lining. Because our character lunch box